Hello and welcome to my channel. If you enjoy crochet and scary stories, then welcome. Let's dive right in. Today's story is titled The Restless Spirit of a Monk Who Visited a Prison Cell, a classic case from Germany. On a September night in 1835, Dr. Henry Kerner was confronted by a problem that had never been outlined in textbooks or explained by men under whom he had studied. That night he left his room near the Weinsberg prison grounds and walked to a cell where he intended to shut himself in with a 38-year-old female inmate who appeared to be suffering from strange delusions. The prison guards let him pass with a nod, and the turnkey opened the cell of Mrs. Elizabeth Esslinger. Dr. Kerner asked the woman how she felt before he removed his cloak and sat in the cell's single chair. She replied that she was fine, and Kerner knew her answer to be the truth, for he had examined her himself that afternoon. The minutes passed slowly until an hour had elapsed, then another. Finally, at 11:30, Kerner heard a sound as though some hard object had been thrown down on the side of the cell opposite where the woman sat. Mrs. Esslinger immediately began to breathe more rapidly and informed the doctor that the ghost she had seen for so many nights had appeared in the cell again. Dr. Kerner put his hand on the woman's forehead and told the evil spirit to depart. Immediately there sounded a strange rattling, cracking noise all around the walls of the cell, which finally seemed to go out through the window. The woman said the spirit had departed. Thus, for Dr. Kerner, the reality of the woman's story was established beyond a doubt. He had been decidedly skeptical when he had first heard of the prison ghost, but after examining the woman and hearing the testimony of her fellow prisoners, Dr. Kerner decided that he must investigate the phenomenon personally before he could write his report. According to Miss Esslinger, the ghost was the shade of a Roman Catholic priest of Wimmenthal, Germany, who had lived in 1414 and had committed many crimes. In particular, he and his father had worked a fraud upon his own brothers. Since his death, the monk had existed as a spirit in despair. His presence was often accompanied by groans and moans, and sometimes by an earthly smell. Although he could not be touched when Miss Esslinger reached for him, she claimed that she could feel his hand, which became warmer as time passed and his visits increased. Prison officials considered the particular cell block to which Miss Esslinger had been confided to be nearly impenetrable, with no windows and thick walls on the first floor and only closely barred, narrow windows on the second. They felt that no person could enter the block without passing the guards who were on duty 24 hours a day. Yet the apparition visited the cell nightly, and its presence had been attested to by Miss Esslinger's fellow prisoners. Miss Esslinger told Dr. Kerner that the spirit had been sorely troubled when the doctor had called it an evil spirit, protesting that it deserved pity. It had entreated Miss Esslinger to pray for it nightly. For more corroboration and perhaps to protect his reputation, Dr. Kerner brought his wife to Miss Esslinger's cell on October the 18th. Once again, the woman's breathing quickened, and this time the doctor asked quite gently that the spirit troubled the woman no longer. The same noises rattled around the cell, then down the passageway. On October the 20th, Dr. Kerner again stayed in the cell, this time with Justice Hyde. At midnight, Dr. Kerner saw a yellowish light come through the window that had been shut tight against the weather. Simultaneously, he felt a cold breeze and smelled a strong odor. The same sensations awoken Justice Hyde, who had been dozing, and Dr. Kerner described his face feeling as if ants were running all over it. Mrs. Esslinger had fallen to her knees next to her cot and had begun to pray fervently. While she prayed, the men saw the light move up and down the cell, then heard a moaning, hollow, resonant voice that Dr. Kerner could not ascribe to any human. On December the 9th, the doctor and his wife, the prison deputy warden, Madame Mayer, were again in the cell. Suddenly, a small cloud of light, about the size of a small animal like a cat, came into the cell and moved across it. At the same time, there came a noise at the window that Dr. Kerner thought the panes of glass inside the bars would surely be broken. Miss Esslinger told her guests that the ghost had seated itself on a stool in the cell. After the ghost had arrived, they heard footsteps as if someone paced up and down on the floor. Although they saw nothing, Dr. Kerner again felt a cold wind, and a little later he and Madame Mayer heard the same hollow voice say, "In the name of Jesus, look at me." Both Dr. Kerner and Madame Mayer could then see a light surrounding them. Once again they heard footsteps and the voice asking, "Do you see me now?" Dr. Kerner for the first time perceived the form of the being. The ghost was dressed in a loose robe of a medieval clergyman. Dr. Kerner saw it several times again that night, often standing near Miss Esslinger as she prayed. Once it approached Madame Mayer, and she commanded it, "Go to my husband in his chamber, and in his chamber leave a sign you have been there." The voice replied that it would accept the challenge. The door to the cell, still locked and bolted, swung open easily, then fell shut again, and a shadow seemed to float down the hall, while the sound of the footsteps filled the quiet block of cells. 15 minutes later, it had returned near the window, and when asked if it had completed its task, a hollow laugh filled the cell. Later in the morning, without prompting, Deputy Warden Mayer remarked that the door to his bedchamber, which he was certain not only had been locked, but also bolted, had been standing open when he arose. In concluding his report, Dr. Kerner did not attempt to explain away what he had observed, but he re-emphasized the fact that he and other witnesses had indeed seen something in Miss Esslinger's cell, and whatever it was, he knew of no natural explanation for it. The published report, with its admirably objective viewpoint, created a great stir throughout Germany. The report had influence not only among the general public, but among scientists as well, and many learned men sought entrance to the Weinsberg prison to investigate the phenomena. all, over 50 men of science visited Miss Esslinger, and nearly all of them observed some unexplainable phenomena. Although many of them tried to duplicate the manifestations, none were successful. The bars that rattled so easily at the passing of the ghost could not be shaken by the effort of many men, nor could the awesome voice be duplicated. 2 German surgeons claimed that they had heard a sound as if gravel were falling to the ground while they waited admittance, and that upon entering the cell, the sound was repeated for them by the ghost at their request. Another time, 2 physicists, Dr. Schurer and Dr. Frost, visited Miss Esslinger and described a thick cloud that hung near her head. They also heard a loud pounding noise and observed the phenomenon of the locked cell door swinging open, then clanging shut with great violence. These strange occurrences repeated themselves 8 times during the night in which they stayed in the cell. All during the remainder of Miss Esslinger's prison term, the ghost continued to haunt the cell block. On Miss Esslinger's release, the ghost promised to return to the cell and did so 2 nights later, whereupon it manifested new sounds at the request of Mrs. Mayer. The ghost did not bother Miss Esslinger after her release from prison, but during the months it had been with her in the cell, it had asked her many times to journey to Wimmenthal to pray for its soul. After much deliberation, Miss Esslinger went to Wimmenthal, and witnesses said that when she prayed, the form of a man appeared, accompanied by 2 small specters. When Mrs. Esslinger said that the ghost had asked for her hand, she extended it after taking the precaution of wrapping it in her handkerchief. When the ghost had touched her hand, a flame shot from the cloth. Finger-like marks were scorched into the handkerchief, providing physical proof of the ghost's presence. The Weinsberg prison ghost was front-page news in Germany for 6 months, and is certainly one of the best documented manifestations in the annals of psychic research. It is interesting to note that the prison files on Miss Esslinger made mention of the fact that she claimed always to have been a ghost seer, although her first actual communication with the ghost did not occur until the specter of the Catholic priest began to appear to her during her internment in Weinsberg prison. It would seem that Miss Esslinger had long had abilities and would therefore be of the proper mental makeup to serve as an energy center for a restless spirit. How and why the ghost of the priest became attracted to the imprisoned widow is beyond speculation at this point. If you enjoyed this story, comment below and hit the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel. I will be posting more videos of crochet and ghost stories. Not only ghost stories, but stories that are more mysterious in nature and with a hint of the paranormal, which has always been fascinating to me. And stay tuned because I'm putting together a video where I will tell my own story. I grew up in a house that had unexplained circumstances and some comical, some pretty frightening. So that has always been an interest of mine, the paranormal, the otherworldly, the other dimensions. And if you have a story you would like told, please comment below and I will see what I can do about researching that story and doing a video on that. If you preferred whispered or soft spoken or unintelligible ASMR, please let me know and I can do a video on that as well. I'm currently crocheting a bag in this video, and I'm also crocheting, if you've seen in the other video, a small pumpkin because in a few days it is Halloween, so I'm making it a bit colorful. So thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell and like the videos to let me know that you'd like to see more. I will be posting probably several a week. So I'm new at this and I just started the channel, so I'm really excited about this. So I appreciate the feedback and I will be looking forward to hearing from each of you. Until then, stay scared.